Hello, my name is Dr. David Barkovich, and I'm excited to be speaking with you on behalf of the School Counseling Department at North Hills, consisting of Mrs. Liz Dove, Mrs. Deborah Davis, and Mrs. Nicole Weber. This presentation is regarding career and college planning for underclassmen. We spoke with all of our students this year in February, all of our juniors who are members of the class of 2023, and we talked with them about how they are at a crossroads in life. Now is the time when they need to begin to think about what path they are going to pursue. A good place to start that journey is with themselves. And we ask them to consider what their personal goals are and what their interests are and what their strengths are so that they can find a career that is a good match for them. We did impress upon them that waiting till their senior year is probably not going to get the results that they want. We also talked about how this does not happen in an instant. It is a process. There's paperwork and red tape to go through, and we ask them to gear up for that. If they feel anxiety during this, we ask the students to take just one small step and make a little bit of progress towards their future. And hopefully after doing so, they get some momentum and can do more and more. I mentioned our school counseling department, and in 2022, 2023, we are going to be divided by the alphabet. And we're making that adjustment and asking our students to learn who their new school counselor might be. We talked about how the economy in the United States has changed drastically and how you do need to have skills of some sort to be successful in the workforce of the 21st century. There are a number of unskilled jobs out there that students could pursue, but on the whole, the majority of jobs, 90% of jobs, you need some sort of post-secondary education. That term is very important, post-secondary, because it means that you may need a 4-year degree to do certain jobs, but there are many certificates, 2-year programs, and any other ways to gain some skills that could also give you an advantage in the workforce. Another way to illustrate this as there are definitely openings in the future for folks with advanced degrees, master's degree and beyond. But for every one occupation there is of those, there are 2 jobs that require a university degree. The striking figure here is that there are 7 jobs out there for every 2 university degree and every 1 master's degree. And these seven jobs require a certificate or a 2-year degree of some sort. So there's definitely advantages to becoming more educated. Students have a basic choice to make after graduation. And we try and impress upon them that these are not the only choices, but just starting points as they branch out. And we described each one of these. I'll talk about some in a little more detail. But these are coming and they need to make a decision, what immediately after graduation, which one of these are they going to pursue? And then afterwards, maybe they try another, they build towards another. But there's a lot of different options here, but these are your basic starting points. One of the starting points that we mentioned is military service, and some students choose to do this because they want to serve our country, earn tuition benefits through the GIA Bill. A lot of great reasons for joining the military. We talked about the trades and the labor unions in regard to how that is a little different than being your own boss or working for a company as a private tradesman of some sort, and that there are some benefits to doing so, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. We did try and tell our students that it is okay if they are starting with no idea what they want to do right now. And there are ways that you can engage in activities to help you figure these things out. For instance, students could go to PA Career Zone and they could work to find their career match on the Explore tab here, and they have interest inventories here. This might match you up with a career that meets your particular interests. Another good source of information is the mynextmove.org, and this is a site that also has a number of different quizzes and surveys, but you can search for keywords and look at the different industries to see if there's something out there you want to do. If students are intending to go to college, then there are many options across from them, nearly 4,000 different college options out there. Using the Big Future website that the College Board has set up could help them to identify what schools they might want to apply to. They would use the different criteria that they are thinking of like a major or location, cost. And as they input that different criteria, the number of schools that have that will diminish till maybe you have a workable list and you can make a real plan to apply to these colleges. We do want our students to have access to this information. And so during the spring of 2022, we're going to have two really fun events, a trades fair and a Pittsburgh College Fair. And we need our students to do one of these, although we would encourage them to do both if they want to explore the construction trades or college. Uh, the Buildings Trades Fair will happen at North Hills, and we're going to have unions here at North Hills to discuss it. And the College Fair, we will bus our students, our junior students, the class of 2023, down to the Pittsburgh Convention Center to speak with the colleges and universities that are there. It is vital that they choose one or both. This is part of their career portfolio that the Pennsylvania Department of Education requires us to create for them, okay? But we are hoping really they want to do this because they're interested on their own. Along the same lines, we do bring in students, different folks to North Hills to talk about the opportunities. We bring in members of the military. We bring in volunteer opportunities. We bring in colleges to talk to our North Hills students. And the idea is that students can interact with them in a face-to-face manner, ask their questions, and demonstrate that they are interested in that institution as well. During our time talking with our students, we talked about standardized tests and how the idea is that different people can be compared based on their standardized test score. Theoretically, they took it under the same circumstances, using the same amount of time and with basically the same level of rigor in the questions. And so you could theoretically compare two people from different parts of the world. One part of the standardized testing that we offer at North Hills is the ASVAB. And this is something that students who might be interested in the military will need to take if they want to enlist in the military. We stress that math and science and English and social studies are very important because these are some different areas that will be explored on the ASVAB. And we do have an opportunity for students to take that here at North Hills. Students could also encounter a entrance exam if they're interested in going to a trade or a union, because there's also tests that students need to take. They want to know if you have a certain level of mastery of mathematics and reading comprehension, vocabulary, and mechanical aptitude. So this is something we want students to keep in mind as they're working daily in their classes. A lot of times when we mention standardized tests, people think of the SAT and ACT. And these are college admissions tests that are taken in the spring of your junior year so that you can show that you have certain skills. The idea is that colleges look at this and decide whether or not you have a level of mastery of certain skills that they're hoping somebody has when they come onto their campus. Now, things have changed a great deal, and SATs and ACT scores are now optional. So someone needs to consider whether or not they really want to take this and submit it because of COVID. SAT scores can be optional at many institutions. Now, the tests are different, and we encourage our students to do some research into how they're different, what one might allow them to show their skills more than others. In general, the SAT has fewer questions, but those questions also require more steps to solve, or you cite more evidence. So there are differences. We ask the students to take a look at them and make a good decision for themselves regarding what test they might want to take. These tests are all offered throughout the year, but you do have to register well in advance of them, and sometimes they fill up. If you want a particular location, such as North Hills, you have to act ahead of time and take that test so that you can get in, get registered, and have that banked as part of your admissions criteria. Speaking of which, the basic materials needed for application for a lot of different career paths is the application itself, which will ask you to put down your basic demographic information, but also the type of program you're interested in, where you went to high school. Depending on where you might go, there could be application fees to certain post-secondary institutions as well. And some of these can be significant. So you want to be targeted about how many you apply to. In most cases, you will need to have your transcript sent to an institution. This is the record of your grades and your accomplishments to date in terms of your academics. So students request that during their senior year to send out. And then they may need standardized test scores, SAT or ACT, ASVAB, or some sort of that for the application itself. There are supplemental information as well that some institutions might look for, maybe an essay, letter recommendations. They want to know that maybe you're a well-rounded individual that can handle a lot of different tasks at one time in addition to your academics. So these are some other things that could be used in the admissions process. Students sometimes ask us what number of schools they should apply to. Well, that's a very relative thing, especially given how much the admissions fees might be. But in general, maybe you want to apply to some schools that are very challenging to get into, but you'd love to attend if you got in. You reach for those schools, and then maybe there's some where hey, you meet their requirements. It seems reasonable that you should get accepted. And then it might be responsible to apply to some schools in which you really have what they're looking for. Sometimes it's good to be a big fish in a small pond. Something else that colleges or post-secondary institutions could look at, the military, trade unions, is whether or not students are acting in an appropriate manner online. There are some red flags that these institutions tell us that they look for, and you would never want to lose admission, lose a job, lose a scholarship for something that you thought was funny with your friends that can be interpreted different ways. Finally, we did meet with our students and reminded them about the different options that we have if they need assistance, ask them to look out for one another, and let folks know if they ever need a hand. So thank you very much for your time today. We hope you find this useful. You're welcome to view this as many times, but please contact the North Hills School Counseling Department if you have any questions. Have a wonderful day.